Today is part 2 of our brewing series. Remember that honey brown that we brewed up? Well, today we're going to bottle it. Stick around and I'll show you how to do it. Okay, welcome back. And today is going to be a fairly busy day because today our brew that we made, the honey brown ale, has finished fermenting. It's been about a week, so all the fermentation has stopped. Now what we're going to do is transfer it from the fermentation bucket to the bottling bucket. And there we're going to prime it for carbonation. And then we're going to bottle. And I'm going to walk you through that process. Stick around and we'll get started. Okay, so what we have here is 5 ounces by weight of corn sugar dissolved into 2 cups of boiling water. Now, all you're going to do is take your dissolved sugars and pour it into your bottling bucket. That's it. Nothing special there. And for this step, I do like to use the corn sugar because I find that it does, for one, it dissolves easier, and 2, I get better, more consistent results. Now, since we have this here, this is our bottling bucket. It has a spigot on the front, which I'll show you here in a little bit, where we will attach a hose and our bottling wand. Everything has been sanitized with Star San, including all of our bottles over here that we will be using down here later. Now, what I want to do is I want to change out my buckets. So I'm going to move the bottling bucket over here, and I'm going to raise up our fermentation vessel. I do apologize for being out of frame with my face, but I figured this was probably more important. Now, this is completely done. I am 100% sure of this. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and open our bucket and take a look and see what our results are. And you want to be gentle when you move it and when you take the lid off, because the trub that's on the bottom, which is all the impurities in the beer that have fallen out during the fermentation process, they're sitting on the bottom. You don't want to stir those up and get it into your beer. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, definitely smells like beer. So let me bring you over here and show you what it looks like. Now, once your fermentation is done, notice the lees and stuff that's on the side. That is perfectly normal. So, what I am going to do is I'm going to take a sample and get us a final reading on what our ABV is. Okay, that's enough there. So what I'm going to do, give this a quick little stir and give it a spin and see where she lands. Looks like 1.010. Which that'll give us probably around a 4.5–5% ABV. I'm good with that. Now, what I'm going to do, always taste your beer. Yeah. Always taste your beer. It's going to be flat. It's not going to be foamy at all, but it's going to let you know how your final product turned out. So. Light on the hops, which is what I was going for. I think it fermented down probably a little too much of the honey. But that could change when I rack it. But overall, very good mouthfeel. And even though it's not carbonated, this does taste very good. So I'm happy with it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put the bottling bucket back here. Now you always want your buckets, your main one higher than your bottling bucket. And that's because we're going to be using an auto siphon. Now this is specially designed for 5-gallon buckets like this. So while I get everything prepared, hold on, and what we'll do is we'll start bottling this up. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Now, on your auto siphon, here on the bottom, there is this plastic cap. Folks, make sure you keep your plastic cap in place. This is so when it settles down on top of the trub at the bottom of the bucket, it doesn't suck in all that yeast and the nastiness. It helps to filter your beer. So I do know some people who have, actually these have come off and they've thrown them away thinking that it was nothing, but it is a very important piece to your auto siphon. Now this has been cleaned and sanitized. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to take your hose and put that down at the bottom of your bucket. And like I said, this has been cleaned and sanitized. And you're going to draw up your racking cane, just 1 or 2 pumps, and there it goes. And notice how it's swirling around. And that is gently removing our beer from the fermentation vessel to this one. And as you can see how it swirls, it is mixing the sugars along with it. And this is going to take several minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to make you guys sit here for the whole thing, but I'll come back as soon as we're done filling up our bottling vessel. So I'll see you in a few minutes. Okay, we're getting toward the end. Yep, that's all she wrote right there. There is a lot of trub in the bottom, and I do not want that in my beer. So what I'm going to do is stop it right there. There we go. And now all of our sugar's mixed in, and now all we have to do is bottle it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you down, show you how we're going to hook up our bottle wand and start filling some bottles, and then I'll show you a couple of how to cap them, and we'll go through that procedure together. Stick around and I'll show you how to do it. Alright folks, well, down here on the floor, because I found this is the easiest way for me to do this. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your sterilized tubing and your bottling one, and you're just going to fit this over the little tubing piece of your bucket. Now this is a spring-loaded bottling wand. This tip right here, when it goes up, the liquid flows. When it's let go, it stops. This is a very simple process, but it's one that does take some time. Now, I have a whole box of bottles here. I've got 24 of them. I've got another 24 or 30 on the table. With the 5-gallon batch, you're making roughly between 45 and 50 bottles of beer. Now, you don't have to go out and buy brand new bottles. I reuse bottles all the time. These I just haven't removed the label from. But you take your clean, not sterilized, but sanitized bottles, and you get ready. Now, what I do is I take the bottling wand, I turn on the spigot, and it starts filling up. And then as I push down, it starts letting the beer flow. And then when I let up, it stops. So what I'm going to do is, you let these fill up like this, you let it come all the way up to the neck, and then you pull up just like that. And now you have a full bottle of beer ready to be capped. I'm going to do a few more of these, and then I'm going to demonstrate how to cap with the traditional capper. I know a lot of people use swing top bottles. I've had hit or miss luck with them. I've never had a problem with the traditional caps on failing to ferment my beer. Because nothing is more frustrating than when you go through the time and the expense of making your own just to have flat beer. Okay. And see, just like that, we're rolling right through them. Perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll through these bottles, and then when we come back I'm going to show you how to cap them. Alright, so stick around and I'll be back as soon as I get all these bottles filled. Now, when choosing to reuse a bottle, what you want to look for are the kind that you pop the tops off of, not the screw tops. Like on this one, this one's no good because, as you can tell, it's much thinner than the ones that you have to pop off. Your cap will not hold right here versus this. Very bad things can happen. So these you can throw in the trash. If you want to recycle, make sure they have this real nice lip here, nice and thick wall all the way around. You'll be good to go. Wow, we got a lot of bottles of beer. One thing left to do, cap them. For this, you are going to need specialized equipment if you're doing it the way I'm doing it, which is the traditional. Now, for this, you're going to need a bottle capper. You set the cap on top of the bottle. This portion right here goes on the top. It grabs, and you close it down, and it seals it in place. Just like the commercial beers that you would buy at the store. They're not very expensive at all. I would suggest checking with your local homebrew store. They'll be able to walk you through it. Now, while I was bottling, I took some Star Sand and took my bottle caps and put them into the Star Sand, because you still want everything sanitized for this process. But bottling is super easy at this point. You know, putting the cap on, you just take the cap, set it on top like that, grab your capper, It's going to grab the bottle just like that. And once you do that, I have a little box that I put them in. It doesn't take very long at all. It is a little tedious, but at the same time, I just think about how good all of this beer is going to be once it carbonates. Now, how long do you let this sit? Well, this is bottle conditioning and natural carbonation. My advice would be 7 to 14 days, 10 being the optimum, just to make sure that everything is good and carbonated. Because worst thing in the world is to go through all this trouble for a carbonated beer, and then when you get there and pop the top, you don't get that satisfying pop from the CO2 escaping and knowing that your beer is carbonated. So I'm going to run through all these, and what I'll do is I'll just fast forward just like before. No need for you to sit here and watch this whole process. And I'm going to get all these bottles capped and ready for conditioning. Which conditioning just means storage in a dark place, cool place preferably, like a closet or something, and allowing the new added sugars to react with any tiny amounts of yeast that may still be in your beer, and it's going to release CO2 into your beer naturally. Pop, pop. Let's see. And that, ladies and gentlemen, that's 5 gallons worth of beer, bottled and ready for conditioning. 5 gallons. Let's see, 48. So 2 cases of beer that I made myself, long neck bottle. My total cost on this is roughly about $30 in time. But here in about 10 to 14 days, I'm going to have a very smooth, balanced beer that I made myself at home. And when my friends and family come by and they open one of these tops and they enjoy what they're tasting, it makes it that much better. Now granted, oh yeah, you could go out and buy a case of, some low quality beer, but this isn't low quality. This is stuff that we took our time and we made up our grain bill and had everything ready to go, and we did our conversions and our calculations and everything, and the ABV on this beer is comparable to the commercial beers that are on the market. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put these in a box as well, and I'm going to put them in my closet where I do my fermentations, and I'm going to let these sit and condition. And while it's conditioning, that 5 ounces of priming sugar that we added is going to cause natural carbonization of the beverage. So the next video, which will be in about 10 to 14 days, is I'll chill a bottle, we'll pop the top, we'll take a look at what we have, and we'll take a taste of what we've made and see where we go from that point. So this has been part 2 of the boil in the bag, the honey brown ale. I'll see you for our final installment, part 3, here in about 2 weeks. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and tell your friends and family if they're interested in learning this process at home. You guys take care.